Good morning.
It is.
You shared with us that when we slumber, we reemerge with the non-physical.
Dead. Croaked. Finished. Temporarily. We want you to start relaxing into the idea of death because it's coming, you know. We want you to mock it and make fun of it and love it and enjoy it and anticipate it as we do.
And you also said that that is the most joyous experience. However, my experience in the past, not as much today, but still happens, I have what they call nightmares when I slumber. And it's always
That's something different. When you slumber, your consciousness reemerges.
Okay.
And you reflect, you refresh, you remember who you are, you rejoice, you realign. You be who you really are. The dreams or the nightmares that you recall are an instantaneous translation as consciousness re-enters the body. Isn't that interesting? It feels to you like you dreamed all night long, and the scientists with their contraptions will tell you so, but it is not so. In other words, in the same way that we're visiting with you here, and it sounds as if we are offering words to Esther, and Esther is offering words to you, a sort of relaying thing going on. When really what's happening is that this gathering gathered even before your physical bodies got here. And your intentions were concluded and summarized and understood, and answers were arrived at and planned, and the perfect decisions about who would come first and what the platform would be, all orchestrated instantaneously as you've been sending off your rockets of desires in preparation of coming to this gathering. And then Esther receives, at an unconscious level, a block of thought that she then unravels as she finds conscious words that match the block of thought. So in a similar manner, what's happening with you as you come back into your consciousness is that you are translating, sort of blending, but your translation process is coming from the perspective of now. That's why it is so important for someone like Esther, who is serving as a translator for non-physical, to be in a place of non-resistance. That's why she meditates. That's why she basks. That's why she does her best to get into a place of non-resistance, so that what flows through her is translated into this time-space reality through a filter, if you will, that is not congested with resistance. Where often when you awaken, your filter is congested with resistance about the things that you have been worrying about, you see. Nightmares simply mean that you're translating your life back to yourself from the framework of some sort of insecurity, that's all. It doesn't mean that your inner being is giving you warnings. It doesn't mean that there are terrible things on your horizon. People worry about these precognitive dreams, and we say, well, the reason that dreams sometimes appear and are precognitive is because what you think and how you feel and what manifests is always a vibrational match. And in like manner, what you think and what you feel and what manifests in your dream states is also a vibrational match. In other words, you are the creator of your dreams. So if you are having nightmares, it just means that for whatever reason, and usually for some period of time, you've been beating a drum of insecurity about something. And we think the dream is a wonderful thing because you wake up from it and you say, well, this is not a reality. In other words, it's always easier to release resistance from your vibration little by little by little, pre-manifestation than post-manifestation. In other words, once the truck has fallen on you and you have to deal with all of that smashed body, it is not as easy for you to change the thought, because now you've got all of this stuff that you're focusing on too, where a dream is much easier to refocus from. It just sort of gives you awareness, you see. So how long have these dreams been going on? What is the frequency and intensity and nature of them?
I've had them most of my life. It comes and goes in spells, and I get the feeling that there's this invisible presence that's fearful, and I can't see it, and I don't know it, and it just scares me. I become very terrified about this presence that I can feel is there, but I don't understand or don't know. And I wake up, or sometimes I get woken up because I'm really making noises, and I'm afraid.
You say that it's been going on for some time, and yet nothing has ever actually happened that gives you reason to be afraid, does it? And so, when was the last time you had such a dream?
Last night.
Okay. She didn't wake me up this time, I guess. Last night.
And were you aware of it when you awakened?
This time I wasn't. Sometimes it scares me. I wake up, and then sometimes I'm kind of whimpering or something like that, and my wife will wake me up and say, it's okay, and then I'll roll over and go back to sleep.
And is it always the same dream?
Mm-hmm.
And it feels to you that there is someone there?
Mm-hmm.
And what does that someone feel like?
Scary. It's threatening. It's harmful, perhaps, even.
Well, the thing that we most want you to hear and try to feel from us is that the dream is of your own creation. And the fact that it is something nebulous and unknown says to us that you're worried about things that you don't even know what they are. In other words, it's sort of this feeling that you should be wiser, or that you should be smarter, or that you should be more evolved, or that you should know something that you don't know. Any of that ringing any bells?
Yes. All of it.
So let's move up the emotional scale with this, and let's apply any discomfort that comes up today to this scale in some way, just so that you can begin to regain your power. Would you say that the emotion that stands out most in this dream is the emotion of powerlessness?
Yes.
In other words, it feels like there's something there that could harm you, and even though you don't know what it is, you still feel powerless.
I have no control over it.
But it's not a big bad wolf that you could shoot or feed cookies to. It isn't a monster that you could get the government to bring tanks and deal with.
Nope.
It's something that is so indescribable, or something.
It's just an it.
And so we think that what it is the monster of insecurity that has been festering within you long enough that now it's beginning to take form. It doesn't have a name. It doesn't really look you in the eye. It just sort of bees there. It lurks. Isn't it interesting? So now, on this emotional scale, it doesn't feel like freedom and empowerment. It feels like disempowerment. So what is the emotion that is closest to that you would like to jump into to see if you can find any relief from that? In other words, awaken from your dream, feel the discomfort of it, feel what it is, feel how it feels, and now what do you want to say to it, or to yourself, to it, to regain some control? What would you like to say? Do you ever get mad at anybody?
Sometimes.
You try not to.
Right. I've been taught that's not okay.
But in this particular case, since it's a nebulous blob of something, we give you permission. So what would you like to say
I would like
to it or about it?
I'd like it to leave my life and never come back again.
If we were a blob of insecurity, we would not leave with that. We would say that wimpy sentence only encourages us to stay longer.
This is hard.
It's because you're not used to it. You're not used to believing that it's all right for you to garner your own conclusion about something and say to whatever that is, it's not all right for you to be in my dreams. You don't represent who I am. You don't represent my life. You don't show up in my dayscape. I don't know how you got in my dreamscape. I suppose I've allowed you there. Maybe it's my bringing you there, but I'm sort of tired of you. I'm tired of waking up uncomfortable because you are there. I'm tired of this feeling of insecurity. There's no basis in the world for it. I don't remember why I picked it up. I don't know why I'm projected into my dream state. I don't really even remember how long it's been there, but I'm sick and tired of it. I don't want it to be there anymore. I'm a stronger person than this. I have things going on in my life. I'm a capable person. Things are going very well for me. I like my life. I like what's happening in my life. Things are getting better every day. You no longer match who I am. You don't belong in my dream. I don't want you here anymore. I want you to be gone. You do not represent who I am. You are some remnant from the past. I do not want you to show up again. And if you do, tomorrow night, I'm going to be really, really mad at you. In other words, this is my new stance. Can you feel it? In other words, it feels strange, we know, for us to be talking to some nebulous blob. But what you're doing is you're practicing a vibration that will serve you better. It's a vibration that others may describe as anger. We would describe it as I've got control of my dreams. I've got control of my life. I'm the creator of my experience. I'm not going to slink off into some frightening place because of something that I've projected into my future from my fearful past. It's gone. It's done. I don't want you anymore. Now, don't you feel better?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We do not expect that you will have many more, maybe not even any more dreams like that. But if you do, just follow that path again. If you were to have a dream, say 4 or 5 nights in a row, where you'd wake up and you'd have this sort of little projection of deliberate intent to take control of your life that may come under the guise of anger, you may grow weary of this anger because it truly is not your nature. In fact, we think the reason that we took off and ran with it is because we think it would have taken more time than any of us have time for to prod you into angry remarks, because they don't come easily to you. You've worked hard at not being angry for a very long time. But that's because so many people associate anger with something that is wrong, where we're wanting you to understand that deciding what you want is not necessarily angry. Sometimes people who are bigger and stronger, who have been in charge of you, like parents or teachers or people in power, whatever the reason, very often they don't want you to show forcefulness because that's their role. You're not supposed to tell me what to do. I'm supposed to tell you what to do, is the attitude. And it takes some doing for most of you to come around to say, wait a minute, I'm the creator of my own experience. I'm the only one who gets to decide what I do. You all don't count. But there are a lot of authority figures that if when you're little you try that, they'll show you how powerful they are. They'll convince you that you do not have power. And in time, you will retreat with your determination to guide your own life. And that's what's happened to you. You've retreated, and now you're creating a dreamscape that's showing you that you have retreated. You're not alone in that. Almost everybody who wants to get along does. In other words, it's easier to let people who are strong be strong. It's just for the sake of getting along. And there's nothing wrong with letting strong people be strong just for the sake of getting along, unless it diminishes your sense of power and value, you see. You're not going to want to linger long in this anger. You'll move into frustration, or maybe even into understanding. We suspect that whatever it is that you were cowering from started when you were really, 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 really little, and it's been gone for a very long time. You just practice the vibration of it, you see. There are a lot of you that you want to be the creator of your own experience, and on many levels believe that you are. You also don't want to make waves with other people. And there are so many opinionated people around you that you don't want to make waves about. And you can live your own creative control without making waves in anybody else's experience unless they're really, really opinionated about what you do. In other words, there are a lot of people that need you to be a certain way in order for them to feel good. And that's where the trap comes around your neck. Because now suddenly you have to be something you're not, or something you don't want to be, in order to satisfy somebody else. And then deep-seated resentments that you keep sort of burying show up in schizophrenia, or they show up in dreamscape. In other words, they show up in lots of different ways. We want you to feel free. We want you to feel so free that you can ignore what anybody else says and not need to even tell them that you're ignoring them. What an art that is. To live your own life and keep yourself happy and not make waves with them. In other words, that really is the art of allowing. It says, I guide my own energy by thinking my own thoughts and by choosing what feels good to me, and I choose not to feel powerless, even though you would like me to feel like you have power over me. And I can actually dance that dance with you if you need me to. Because I'm happier when you're happy because you're not in my face, but you're not in control of me. I'm in control of me, you see. Anybody who has a job, anybody who has a parent, anybody who has a child. Children work much more power of control over parents than parents actually do over children. In other words, it's a two-way street all the way around. Everybody you know is trying to control you, and everybody that you know you're trying to control in some way, because you all want to feel good, and you all think that if they would behave differently, you would. And everybody's going after it with everything you've got. Every advertisement, every conversation, every word that everybody offers is because you're all trying to get yourself into a better feeling place. You are selfish, selfish, selfish fiends. And we adore you. You are oriented in that way. In other words, that's what makes the world go round. That's what makes the universe go round. If you didn't have this selfish point of attraction, then you would not ever be able to emit honest preferences. And then Source could not answer your preferences. And so it's perfectly all right for other people to think that they need you to be certain ways. You just have to not care what they think. And that comes back round to this internal guidance system. Nothing is more important than that I feel good. In other words, you are a lover. You'd much rather love than hate. And you'd even rather love those who hate, you see. But when you sacrifice your own sense of power in the process, then it's gone too far. And we think you've just heard that, and it's back into perspective.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Co-creation at its best. Yes, indeed.